God! Oh my God!
Today, we will use a scientific perspective to explore the complex truth behind meteorological events. A storm brought heavy rain and strong winds to northern Europe overnight into Friday, causing downed trees and triggering flood warnings along the North Sea coast, according to the latest news from the ABC News website. On the evening of December 21st, due to the impact of a storm, strong winds hit Oudenaarde in western Belgium. In a busy Christmas market, a 20-meter, 6-story-tall Christmas tree slowly tilted in the strong wind, and the center of gravity of the branches and huge trunk shifted dramatically. Then suddenly it collapsed and the giant Christmas tree quickly flooded the pavement, crushing 3 people, killing a 63-year-old woman and injuring 2 others, and the Christmas market was immediately closed and cancelled. In addition, a woman in the eastern Dutch town of Wilp was hit by a falling tree and later died of her injuries. Before Christmas, rail passengers in some parts of Germany faced cancellations, delays, and diversions. Affected routes include those from Hamburg and Hanover to Frankfurt and Munich. National rail operator Deutsche Bahn said fallen trees damaged overhead power lines or blocked tracks, mainly in northern Germany but also in the central state of Hesse. Conditions improved Friday afternoon. Thank you for liking, leaving comments, subscribing and turning on the little bell. We will update every day. In Hamburg, the Elbe River flooded streets surrounding the city's fish market, with water reaching waist-deep levels in some places. The storm surge peaked in the port city on Friday morning at 3.3 meters above average high tides, authorities said. Streets around the ports of some Dutch North Sea towns were flooded overnight, including The Hague's seaside suburb of Scheveningen. Due to high water levels, the massive Maasrankeln storm barrier gates that protect Rotterdam from high sea levels have automatically closed for the first time, meaning that all 6 major storm barriers protecting the Dutch lowlands are closed at the same time. The country's Water and Infrastructure Management Authority said this was also a first. By Friday morning, all 6 barriers were open again as winds eased. In the North Sea, the Norwegian cruise ship Maud temporarily lost power Thursday after hitting rough waves. The ship's operator, Hurtigruten Expedition, said there were no injuries among the 266 passengers and 131 crew members. The ship, which was originally bound for the British port of Tilbury, will be rerouted to Bremerhaven, Germany, for disembarkation. Meanwhile, the Danish Search and Rescue Agency said the ship can maneuver via emergency systems and there are 2 civilian support ships nearby that can assist. High winds grounded flights in parts of the UK on Thursday, suspended train services and stopped ferries in Scotland. British Airways said air traffic restrictions imposed due to the storm continued to affect flights between the UK and the rest of Europe on Friday. Europe is located in the western part of the Northern Hemisphere. It is located at the western end of the Eurasian continent, facing the Atlantic Ocean, the Mediterranean Sea to the south, the Arctic Ocean to the north, connected to Asia to the east, and the Atlantic Ocean to the west. Europe has a total area of about 10 million square kilometers, accounting for 7% of the world's land area, and is the smallest continent among the 6 continents in the world. The terrain of Europe is high in the west and low in the east, and the terrain is complex and diverse. The west and central parts are plateaus and low mountains. The Alps run across Central Europe and are the highest mountains in Europe. Eastern and northeastern Europe are vast plains. Important plains include the Eastern European Plain, the Polish Plain, the North German Plain, the Hungarian Plain, etc. There are many rivers and lakes, most of which belong to the Atlantic and Arctic Ocean water systems. The climate is mild and rainy, suitable for the growth of various crops. It is one of the most livable and civilized regions in the world. Europe is located in the temperate zone and has a temperate maritime climate. The climate is mild and humid, with 4 distinct seasons and abundant sunshine. However, it is greatly influenced by the North Atlantic warm and humid air currents and the Mediterranean Sea, and the climate is obviously zoned. The coastal areas in the west have warm winters and cool summers. The inland areas in the east have cold winters and hot summers. It's cooler in the north and hotter in the south. Annual precipitation decreases from west to east and from south to north. Europe is located at the intersection of many different air masses, with drastic climate changes and frequent storms. The intersection of the North Atlantic warm and humid air with the polar cold air, or the northward movement of warm Mediterranean air, makes the front active, causing heavy rains, thunderstorms, hail, hurricanes, etc. to occur frequently, bringing disasters to production and life. The westerly wind brings a lot of water vapor, and there is abundant precipitation in Western and Northern Europe. Eastern Europe and the Mediterranean are drier. Europe is greatly affected by the warm and humid air currents in the North Atlantic and cold polar air. When the Scottish low pressure passes through, warm and humid air and cold air meet, the frontal activity is strong, and the wind speed can reach hurricane standards, posing a major threat to Western Europe. Storm surges and flooding occur frequently in winter along the North Sea and Baltic Sea coasts. Inland Central Europe also suffers from cold air and snow in winter. The Mediterranean climate zone in southern Europe has high temperatures and little rain in summer, and is also prone to droughts and wildfires. Therefore, Europe's latitude and the influence of the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea create its temperate maritime climate characteristics. But the intersection of different air masses also makes them vulnerable to storms, especially coastal and low-lying areas. European countries should strengthen the construction of weather early warning systems and take measures such as flood prevention and wind prevention to reduce the harm of storm disasters to the economy and people's lives and property. In recent years, various regions in Europe have been frequently affected by storms, but at different times. Generally speaking, autumn and winter are the times when European countries are more severely hit by storms. The first is Western and Northern Europe. Most countries here face the Atlantic Ocean and are significantly affected by the North Atlantic warm and humid air currents. In October, as the polar cold air gradually moves southward and meets the warm and humid air, frontal activities become frequent. The United Kingdom, Northwest France, Northern Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark and other countries began to enter a period of high storm incidents at this time. November to January is the most stormy time in these countries. Continuous strong winds, heavy rain, and heavy snow have brought great inconvenience to residents' lives and transportation. Northern parts of Norway and Sweden are under the threat of snowstorms throughout the winter. Secondly, countries along the Mediterranean Sea, such as southern Spain, southern France, and Italy, are also vulnerable to storms in summer and autumn. July and August are relatively hot summer months in Europe, and the high temperature and lack of rain can easily trigger wildfires. From September to November, under the influence of cold air masses moving southwards, these areas often experience strong convective weather such as local heavy rains, thunder and lightning, and hail. In addition, Countries in Eastern and Southeastern Europe, such as Poland and Hungary, are relatively special. The continuous Carpathian Mountains block the moisture brought by the westerly wind. These countries receive less precipitation, but thunderstorms and strong winds may occur when mid-latitude westerly jets move southward in summer. The Balkan Peninsula in southeastern Europe experiences high temperatures in summer and autumn, and mountainous areas are also prone to wildfire disasters. When Europe is hit by storms, it is often accompanied by the occurrence of various secondary disasters. First, heavy rains brought by storms can cause floods and urban waterlogging to varying degrees. Floods mainly occur in large river basins, such as the Danube, Rhine, Leto, and other river basins. During heavy rain seasons, river water surges, and dikes that cannot bear the pressure often burst, causing large-scale flood disasters. The most serious flood in history occurred in 2002, causing severe flooding in Germany, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Austria, and other countries. Urban flooding often occurs in big cities such as London, Paris, and Brussels. Heavy rains cause poor drainage, causing large areas of water accumulation on roads and basements. Storm surges mainly threaten some low-lying coastal countries in northern and western Europe, such as the Netherlands. The strong winds brought by the storm will push the seawater to the coast, and when the astronomical tide is at its highest, it will cause large areas of flooding. Secondly, landslides often occur in mountainous countries such as the Alps, especially in northern Italy, western Austria, and Switzerland. Every heavy rain can easily trigger large-scale mudslides, seriously damaging railways and highways, and posing a serious threat to residents' lives and safety. In addition, transportation paralysis is also a situation that European countries must face every storm. The railway and highway systems in northern and western Europe are well developed, but they are also very susceptible to wind and snow. Urban public transportation systems in most countries face severe challenges from severe weather. Air and ferry transportation are also often affected by strong winds and heavy fog. This brings a lot of inconvenience to residents when traveling and transporting supplies. As an island country in northwest Europe, the United Kingdom is significantly affected by the warm and humid air currents in the North Atlantic Ocean, causing frequent storms. It has always attached great importance to the construction of storm prevention capabilities. First, the UK continues to improve its storm warning system. The British Meteorological Office has a storm warning centre that uses advanced weather radar, satellite cloud images, and numerical forecast models to monitor the formation, route, and intensity changes of storms in advance, and issues typhoon warnings to the government and the public to take preventive measures. For example, before the hurricane-level Atlantic storm hit the UK in 1987, warnings were issued 5 days in advance, which greatly reduced the loss of life and property. Secondly, the UK needs to strengthen the wind resistance of key infrastructure. For example, optimizing the power grid structure and making cable bridges underground can quickly restore power supply after the power grid is damaged by wind. Build fixed rail and highway facilities that are wind and wind resistant. Develop contingency plans for reduced or delayed flights due to severe weather. These measures can ensure the rapid recovery of transportation, communications, water supply, power supply, and other municipal facilities during and after the storm. In addition, the UK attaches great importance to the construction of tidal walls in coastal areas. The UK is an island country with few resources and highly dependent on maritime transportation. Windbreaks play an important role in attenuating the erosion of port facilities caused by storms and reducing seawater intrusion. The experience of flood control embankments provided by the Netherlands and other countries also provides reference for the UK's storm prevention. More importantly, the UK continues to improve its storm disaster warning and emergency system. British government departments at all levels, emergency rescue teams, and volunteers work together to evacuate personnel according to risk areas before the storm hit and carried out inspections, disaster relief and rescue work during the storm. Initiate emergency response at different levels according to disaster needs and coordinate and direct disaster relief work. This requires close cooperation between local military departments and domestic and overseas rescue forces. This system works well, can reduce casualties, and speed up the recovery of important systems such as power supply and transportation. Compared with the UK, the terrain in France changes greatly, the geographical environment is complex, and the risks faced are more diverse. In terms of storm prevention measures, France places more emphasis on improving early warning levels, building regional joint defense systems, and urban flood control construction. First, France is committed to improving its forecasting and warning capabilities for heavy rain and floods. Central and northern France has a well-developed water system and has suffered from severe floods many times in history. In recent years, France has strengthened the construction of rain gauge networks, carried out short-term forecasts, and established an information-sharing platform for different departments and hydrology and water resources departments. We will revise the flood prevention plan accordingly, refine the division of flood prevention and relief tasks among various departments and regions, and improve the efficiency of risk assessment and decision-making. The most serious flood disaster in history occurred in 2010, but under the guidance of early warnings, losses in various places were effectively controlled. Secondly, France attaches great importance to information communication and rescue coordination among different administrative regions. French local governments have greater power, and the central government relies more on guiding and coordinating local flood control and disaster relief forces to carry out work. Establish a joint flood prevention mechanism in areas with higher risks. Carry out routine drills to familiarize rescue teams from different administrative regions and cross-border areas with joint operations. Make good use of the Aviation Fire Rescue Force in the EU Disaster Relief Mechanism system. This model brings into play the overall flood prevention and disaster relief efforts and improves the efficiency of emergency response. At the same time, France is making great efforts to strengthen the construction of urban flood control systems. Large cities such as Paris and Lyon are low-lying and at high risk of flooding. In the past 10 years, the French government has increased the construction of urban flood control and drainage systems, using rainwater storage tanks, increasing river flood control capacity, expanding pipe network systems, formulating heavy rain emergency plans, and clarifying departmental responsibilities. Urban flood control construction has significantly enhanced the ability to withstand storms and effectively guaranteed the operation of public service systems. On the other hand, Germany is located inland in Central Europe and does not have as obvious maritime climate characteristics as Britain and France. The main storm disasters are floods and landslides. Correspondingly, Germany pays more attention to improving engineering flood control and landslide prevention capabilities in the construction of storm prevention systems. First of all, Germany has increased investment in the construction of flood control systems. Flood risks are controlled mainly by building reservoir flood blocking areas, restoring the flood storage function of wetlands, and building breakwaters and mobile embankments. Full-time security personnel for important embankments implement a 24-hour duty system. At the same time, the flood prevention warning system is updated and rain gauges, water levels, and image monitoring equipment work online around the clock to ensure the real-time sharing of water regime information. This two-pronged engineering and technical flood control system can effectively control flood risks. Secondly, Germany has strengthened the management and control of landslide disasters. The risk of landslide disasters in the Alps in southern Germany is high. Germany uses technology to measure stress changes in geological structures and radar to monitor mountain deformation, to predict the time and scale of landslides. Measures such as early warning of immigration, control of mining, and construction of blocking projects should be adopted to strictly limit and control development activities to minimize the loss of life and property. At the same time, Germany has improved its risk-sharing mechanism. Germany encourages residents to purchase risk insurance independently through policy guidance. Once disasters such as floods and landslides occur, production and life can be quickly restored through insurance claims. Governments can also reduce fiscal pressure. This system that combines commercial insurance with government assistance can efficiently compensate for disaster losses. It is worth mentioning that the construction of the German disaster prevention system focuses on balanced development. When building the flood control system, Germany not only paid attention to the expansion of river flood control capacity, but also emphasized the protection of the integrity of the river wetland ecosystem and its natural role in regulating floods. Landslide prevention and control also takes into account ecological protection. Achieve a win-win situation between disaster prevention and reduction and environmentally sustainable development. Therefore, in the construction of the storm prevention system, Germany places more emphasis on improving engineering defense capabilities, the role of commercial insurance in loss compensation, and the concept of balancing the ecological environment. This is consistent with its economic strength and technical level. It also provides experience for other countries to learn from. Therefore, these European countries, according to their own characteristics, the formulation of long-term high-standard planning, dual innovation in technology and management, and the principle of risk-sharing make its storm defense system worthy of learning by other countries. Thank you for liking, leaving a message, subscribing and turning on the little bell. We will update the latest news from around the world every day. Continue to use a scientific perspective to explore the complex truth behind meteorological events mutually.